Hello, Helen.
Hi, Rob. We're almost there. In fact, it's the final countdown.
Woohoo! I actually feel like that song. The final countdown.
Which it is, because this term, as we know, is short, sharp, sweet, and it's going to happen in a blink of an eyelid.
Brilliant. So what have we got today?
Well, I wanted to talk about how stressed you're feeling at school with all this exam setting, moderating, and all the stuff that's happening.
Well, it is quite stressful, I'm not going to lie. I think because we've had we had an extra week last term, and now we've got a 1 week less this term, and it's all happening. Exams have got to be handed in by this week to be moderated.
Friday.
Yeah, and then they've got to be printed and sent out, and we're starting exams in 2.5 weeks' time. Time is short.
Yeah. So literally, we're going to go and try and have a look at those dreaded exams before it's too late. But we're not going to spend much time. We're just going to remind you actually that you know about trying to order your questions to be remembering and applying and analyzing. You know that. You know Mr. Bloom well. But we're just saying, Coach in the class, say, try and bring in creativity and practical testing for the creative kids and the practically minded kids. I feel that practically intelligent children are the most maligned.
Yes, so we had quite a brainstorm session, a bit of a brainstorm session at our school, and we decided that in grade 5 we were going to, for geography and science, we were going to have a practical part to the exam. So we've got a practical session in the morning. In science, it's got to do with electricity and circuits, and in geography, it's got to do with weather instruments. So there's a real practical portion, and then the second session will be the paper-based portion.
Awesome, that's the way to do it. So there's practical intelligence pre-planned in the whole setup, which is brilliant.
And it really wasn't hard to do.
Awesome. And now we obviously know too that when we are dishing out these Bloom's questions and those verb words, we need to be thinking about trying to bring in at least 10% of creative questions, evaluating, analyzing. And it's not easy because it's so much easier to do rote recall and to mark recall, but let's not do that.
I think what it starts with as well is a good source.
Yes. So here we are. In the Coach in the Class work for this term, there's a lovely story that we have written about the development of transport. Somebody, the horse, who becomes is a racehorse, a stable horse, a cart horse, and then of course the questions are not just
what is
recall. There's a little bit of, you had to decide how life would have been different living with a king as opposed to the gypsies, because he has 2 lives. And that is for your understanding and not just pure knowledge.
Exactly.
And another good one would be this geography question where they say a paleontologist claims to have found a fossil frog in a piece of granite. Is this possible?
Ooh, nice question.
So you didn't learn, Robin Walker. So where are you going to find the answer?
I'm going to go read the sources and I'm going to try and figure it out.
Cool. And of course it says there granite is formed when this magma slowly cools down, and that's when you're going to realize that
because it cools far below the earth. It's not on the earth's surface, and you realize, but the dinosaurs lived on the earth's surface. How did we get there?
And the answer, with a little bit of comprehension, the answer becomes relevant because it's there for you. And you obviously would have learned this stuff, so you would know all about it.
Yeah, so this is a great question again, where obviously we've learned about the sort of the earth and the impact that has
and
on
the seasons
earth.
And the summer and the winter.
And now we're asking some what if questions, and this really sort of looks at it, has the child understood?
Wonderful.
They really understood it. They're now going to have to analyze and evaluate.
Apply their knowledge to something where a tilt now isn't 25, it's 0 degrees. There is no tilt. So
what's the cause and effect of that?
Yes, well, of course, there are going to be no seasons. The seasons will remain the same and things like that. And so that's what the children are going to have to realize.
Fabulous. A little bit more tricky to mark, but interesting.
Definitely. And then this one here is where you have looked at buggies. Is this grade 6 science?
I think it's grade 6. Yes, it is.
I think it is. And you're looking at, so it's an evaluation. And they would have looked at different buggy designs, and they would have even designed their own buggy. I think they do, yes. And now you actually give them information on 4 different lunar modules that were actually created, designed, and some of them went to the moon. And now you must actually look at the pluses of each, the minuses, and anything interesting.
And again, you're evaluating.
Totally. And what an important skill to
Yeah.
be judging. And that's a higher order thinking skill.
Yes.
And all the information is there on the page. So you, Robin, who didn't study, will do very well here.
So glad I'm having this exam. And now we're looking at something more creative. So Scamp is a creative thinking tool that we can use when we're redesigning something. It gives you some sort of, it's an acronym.
Yes.
Looking at can you substitute something? So for example, instead of having the eagle, could we have something more South African because we're going to Mars now as South Africans?
Totally.
Can we have something more South African like like a lion or a springbuck or something?
And so really all that word is doing is helping you modify something because often you think, oh, well, Apollo 11, that eagle landed on the moon. And to help you take that thought away and to redesign, it's just a tool to help you be creative.
Now, this again is very tricky to mark. It's a little bit more difficult.
Well, not if you apply a proper rubric which has the elements of creativity, which we remember are always originality, fluency, flexibility, and elaboration. So we always try and bring that in. But also, if you look at this question for the next one about designing a mission patch, and you actually give them the patch, select one goal for your Artemis mission. And then the very first thing on the rubric is your mission goal clearly indicated by the design? And then it goes on, you must give your mission a number, brainstorm some ideas on how to represent your mission's goal on a badge using symbols.
Yeah.
And then the very next thing is badge is original and detailed, effective use of color, effective use of symbols.
So basically your instructions and your rubric match up.
Are reflecting, the rubric is reflecting what your instructions are.
Brilliant.
And if you bring in, particularly looking for originality, so if they can redesign that, that would be absolutely amazing. And that would be first prize, surely.
Excellent. So Helen, those are just some quick little tips, some helpful hints.
Inspiration, because you know it all. It's just...
And actually, if you just put one interesting question in that's just slightly different to what you've normally done, that would be phenomenal. That's
a few source bases for Robin, who hasn't studied very hard. Everybody.
That's not even lying. I think I went through most of my school not even studying. It was bad. So what a wonderful little tool here, some little tips and tricks for teachers that are trying to get their last little bit of exam.
Hot off the press, just in time. Good luck.
Good luck. Have a wonderful rest of your week.